What's up, guys? What you'll be seeing today, of course, as I addressed in a previous video in the comment section, I was going to address explosive spam or explosives in general, and watch that. See how I throw this strategic C4 here despite the fact that I only have 3 or 4 to my name? Mark my words, and maybe I'm deterring them by saying this in the video, but someone is going to say, note the irony in a video talking about explosives and explosive spam that I happen to use C4, not only to take a guy out here, but soon in the MCOMs. Mark my words, some idiot's going to do it. Just observe it and go nuts on it. As, of course, I kill an enemy with it. But anyway, I digress. What I wanted to talk about is basically, here is that video that I promised that was talking about explosive spam in the past and how I wanted to address it. The video, I wasn't sure how I wanted to address it before, but now I wanted to address it in terms of, instead of it being a massive long-winded rant, I wanted to make it a logically structured video with my reasonings as to why I would like some things removed. Because that's how I want. It took me a while to really come up with the structure of how I wanted to do it, and I'm happy with the way I did it, so I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to list things in Battlefield, because I went over all of the equipments and explosives that I didn't like, and how I would either alter them or just completely get rid of them in general. And what I want you to do is, of course, state if you agree or disagree, or if, like, you agree with one part, like say you want it in the game still, then say how you would, I guess, try to find a better way to balance it as opposed to it being spammed or a massive mess. Logical discussions and a nice dichotomy of different views the videos I tend to strive for. I like discussions, whether you agree or disagree. So at least hear out the logic and present your logic. Don't just say no, because, well, it really exposes a lot about you when you say something like that. So here we go. The video itself, like I said before I quickly get into it here, I'm pretty sure it'll divide the community. This game was, I think, let's call a spade a spade. It was garbage. It was one of the worst games I've ever played when it came out, between crashes and lack of balance. But over the last few patches, I think it's gotten much, much better. But there's still, like I said, this explosive spam is the one big, glaring, outstanding issue that continually kills my drive to play this game. I'll fire it up once, twice a week, something like that. I'll play for less than an hour before I get UCAV'd or mortared or something spammed to crap. I rage and I say, fuck Battlefield. Which sucks, because I really like the Battlefield series. I'm never going to quit it, but I can't. When I have GTA, when I have Destiny and all these other games, and Borderlands, which I'll be getting soon, I guess, why should I stick with explosive spam to hell when I could play like 4 or 5 other decent games as opposed to the ones I didn't have in the past? Counter-Strike 2, but I still have internet issues, so I don't know about Counter-Strike for now. The amount of shit I get when I can't actually rejoin is incredible. So that one's on hold. But again, the game has improved so much, and explosive spam, I think, is still the one thing that just is continually taking this game down a notch. Well, for me it is anyway. Maybe you agree, disagree. So again, what I'll do is break down what I wanted to change, alter, or completely remove. Some will surely hate this video, especially the explosive lovers. But like I said, if we can't have a dialogue to reach a middle ground, I think we've just failed, not only as a group, but as maybe a species. I don't know. Maybe it's overdoing it a bit. I'm not going to address attachments and that to weapons in the game that are, because it'd be sort of redundant in this specific commentary, but perhaps down the line. So let's start, finally, after that massive lead-in. The air burst is the first one that I think I'd remove from the game completely. Other Battlefield games got along without it perfectly fine, and I don't feel we'd really need it. And maybe because it's just bad luck. Maybe I have bad luck with it. I can't go anywhere without being a victim to this. I die in every single map, even if it's right in the middle of the newer maps where they're right in the open. Whether I stay still, whether I move, whether I stay on the low grounds, whether I'm in the high ground, it doesn't matter. This weapon finds me. You could say it's a camper killer, and well, sure, but so is flanking, which, you know, is the old lost art in FPS games. I just don't feel this gun has a need to be in the game. If you're stressing verticality and the ability to eliminate high threats with this weapon as your counter argument, perhaps the issue of verticality and the weapon, or the building structures of Battlefield, are more of the larger issue as opposed to this weapon being the counter to that statement. So I'm not sure I buy that argument at all. So just food for thought. Agree, disagree, let me know. The UCAV is the one that immediately I'd remove. It's the quote-unquote anti-camper gadget turned spammable nightmare. I can't even count the amount of times I've been killed by this thing with absolutely no warning, off the spawn, when relocating, or just when I'm walking in the middle of nowhere coming out of the spawn. Who knows? I've been obliterated off the face of the earth by this thing while driving a tank, while in a little bird, with absolutely no counter or warning for it. I'm struggling to find a single reason. Give me a single reason why this thing should be kept in the game. Like, really. Like I said 3 times now, there's no counter to it. You can spam it every minute or so as long as you have an ammo bag. You don't even need to leave your spawn. There's no reason for it to be in it. Like, the common things I've heard are, well, I can kill a camper or someone holding a choke point, but that's what multitudes of other gadgets, team gameplay, using smoke for flanking angles, and quite simply, well, bullets are for. And verticality, another issue like I already addressed here. Battlefield got along just fine without this spammable piece of shit explosive for years, and I think you can just delete it from the game and it would actually make Battlefield better. So, yeah, get rid of it. The SUAV, I feel there's just no reason for it other than the fact that to unlock it requires... Well, and the fact that to unlock it requires a roadkill, which makes you question why they'd even put it in the game. And especially if they're going to put it in the game, why you'd require a roadkill. It's basically just for spams. What was that reason? Just for that, to laugh at roadkills? With the high speed and limited battery, the UAV actually outclasses it in every conceivable way as a spotting mechanism. And more by being able to clear enemy equipment while doing so, which you can't do with this. I implore you again, give me a reason for this gadget to be in the game. I can't come up with one. Another one here, the M320 3GL, and this is another one where I think DICE ran out of ideas when they listed this one off. They promised gadgets and new gadgets to come out with the DLC that people purchased, so let's give the consumers what they paid for, though we didn't really have a great idea for it. So here's one. Let's throw something that fires 3 grenades, which are not very damaging together at once, that can be spammed as a weapon. And it can't be high damaging, because then it would be overpowered and those with the DLC would win. So again, list me a reason why this thing should be in it. At the very least, it's so terrible that no one uses it anyway, so this one's less a concern, but I still don't think it should be in the game at all. The next one here actually sort of involves the cruise missile, or the AC-130 with commander mode. To be blunt, I don't really like commander mode as it is. I can't many stand servers with it, and especially if it's a rush server. If I see a rush server with commander mode, I don't join. Plain and simple. Spammable UAVs and other ways to highlight you on the minimap absolutely slaughter any chance at flanking around the enemy and kill the ebb and the flow, and that's just the start. The AC-130, I think, just seems like a gimmick that serves no real purpose other than to annoy the hell out of anyone who knows how to take cover on the ground. It isn't lethal other than on naval strike servers because there's no cover in the water. So again, why have it? Just because you can spam it, just because it's another thing to state that's in the game as a selling point. Because for jet unlocks, because that's all I see all these videos doing is people with jets knocking them out. And related to that, the cruise missile. Cool in concept, poor in practice. One team grabs a hold of a specific flag and continually holds it, and now there's more explosive spam for those that don't already have one flag and more threats to deal with. Again, what's the point? I feel this isn't strategy, as some would call it. I'd even argue the opposite of strategy. You could argue the other strategy, well, yeah, well, why don't you get that flag first? Well, then there's more explosive spam to deal with. This one's lesser on the scale than the 3 I listed above. Obviously, I can make that point as a logical argument, but come on, let's level with me. What's the real point of having it, other than maybe just selling points to say, look at that cruise missile. The only good moments I've actually seen these cruise missile have are used for killing rooftop snipers, where you get 3 or 4 at once or more. That's about it. I don't really see it being a big byproduct of game-changing moments in Battlefield, and that sort of goes right into the point of it being spam. To be blunt, I'd be fine if Commander mode just didn't come back at all, or if at the very least, if it did, because it's not a bad mode in itself, it just needs to be completely revamped. Take many things out that don't need to be in. The next one I'd remove is the AA mine. It's another one of those what the hell were they thinking moments for me. You've already got the SRA, the RPG, the Stinger, other choppers, laser designations, and yet they add another anti-air spam explosive to the game that's, again, pretty much useless as it stands. The intent, again, was probably, if the intent sounds good, it was probably used as something that you could deter air support from entering a particular area, hold that area as a strategic point. But it can be spammed with tons of anti-air weapons already in the game. And it's a lazy man set and forget. And to be honest, I think that's just never good game design for those that use weapons, for these kind of weapons to exist, because it takes away the rock, paper, scissors element that Battlefield has made such a good strive for over the years away. You can refer to my 3GL comment on this one again. I just add this in because we promised weapons. The multitude of grenades, again, I don't see the point to having the V40 Mini and the RGO impact grenades based on the changes they continually receive. It's another good idea on paper, poor on execution. The fact that these are the constant source of change in terms of being held, time being held, blast radius, time to being replenished, etc. means that DICE didn't really think balance when adding these grenades in. It was just, well, we'll offer more grenades, but we'll figure it out later. See, the impact grenade, I think, would have utility. It's utilitarian. But being previously spammable and being a big issue, having them nerfed now makes them completely useless. There's no longer a real need for them. So, again, I'd say if there isn't a real need for them or you can't find a balance, just get rid of them. Now, for the weapons I would alter, the first thing I'd say is probably the mortar, the tried and tested mortar, which I'm on the fence about. I see this. I see the point that teamwork can have. I see the point of using them to keep an MCOM armed or to try and prevent it from being disarmed. And especially if you put smoke round with them, they absolutely have a place in Battlefield. That's not the argument here. My problem is that they can be spammed in some maps where there's almost no way of being able to take out the operator at all. So 2 to 3 guys doing it will completely take down an entire area or an MCOM, and you can't get it back. So how would I address that? I'm not sure. Maybe limit the amount of people that can bring out the mortar at once. Maybe nerf the damage. I'm not sure. But having the amount of spam I've seen recently with it, or having them unable to be countered, sort of is hell. The MP-APS was another one of those. I guess it was supposed to be a counter to all of the explosives in Battlefield, but statistically speaking, there's no incentive for a casual player to use it because there's no little reward to do so. You don't get many points. Additionally, I think throwing in all of these explosives was a massive flaw to begin with, but with the attended counter being pretty much useless or completely overlooked, you have a recipe for disaster, and here you go. There's your meal. Battlefield is your meal. Last one that I'd alter is, it's not directly an explosive, but it is related to explosives. It's assault healing. In case you didn't know, both the medic bag and the smaller medic pack were nerfed recently. They updated the medic bag so it doesn't heal soldiers who are suppressed or underwater. In addition, it says in addition, smaller packs also suffer from suppressive effect. And I'm torn about this one. I personally love the fact that it offers more strategy and thought to your movements and the timing of these movements and choices. So better strategy, better impacts players, increases the skill cap. Perfect. No problems there. My issue is having it tied to the suppression mechanic. It makes it extremely difficult to pinpoint exactly when the healing process will begin because you're not exactly sure when the enemy will continually shoot or fire, and if that stray bullet's going to knock you into a suppressive mechanic and all of a sudden you can't heal anymore. That's just my issue with it. Plus the topic of the video, of course, being spammable weapons. The ability of someone to just continually shoot explosives to keep you suppressed means you cannot recover at all. I get the fact of why they did it. They did it so that it could effectively take away the massive advantage that assault players had in gunfights because they just throw down a med pack and the other 3 classes just simply can't keep up with the healing process. So that's great. I'm all for trying to find that balance so that gunfights are even among the 4 classes. But I'm not sure the balance around suppression is the answer. But to be perfectly blunt, I know some people would like, well, what's your suggestion? And I'm not sure I have one. I'd have to really spend time to really dive in and try and figure that process out. But that being said, maybe damage, 2 to 3 second delay on damage taken versus when you start healing. I'd have to spend more time thinking it through, but I don't like the suppression mechanic much because there's just so much out there. But that's my rant. Feel free to agree, disagree, but again, post your logic as to why you agree or disagree, not just no, because that really is a good reflection of your intelligence to just say no. And it's completely useless and gets no one anywhere on any form of discussion. And lastly, of course, before I basically pull the plug here, and I probably should have said this at the beginning, this one here was one of the new DLC maps in its rush mode, in its classic mode. It was a really good high-octane style where I actually crash at the end, of course. But it was a lot of fun. I was switched up between sniping and the MG4. Because I didn't know the layouts in the maps, and you'll see it in the video, I sort of struggled to find some of the layouts in the maps, but it's a learning curve, learning process, just like everything else in this world, as I've said many, many times over. And yeah, that's it really. Again, let me know your thoughts. Have a good one.